So Simple tutorial. Good morning students, welcome to SST So Simple tutorial. In the previous lesson we had learned how print created a new world of debates and discussions. People could write and circulate their ideas through print. On the other hand, some people had fears about the new printed literature since there was no control over what was printed and read. We had also read about Martin Luther, who criticized many practices and rituals of the church. He had also challenged the church to debate with him. Today we will read the new lesson, The Reading Mania. So let us get started. Let us first understand mania. When do we use this word? Normally, when someone has an excessive desire or an obsession for something. And this is exactly what was seen in 17th and 18th century Europe. Let us discuss the reasons of this mania. Students, in the 17th and 18th century, churches had started setting up schools in villages, thus carrying literacy to peasants and artisans. As literacy spread, people wanted to read. Printers responded by producing attractive books on varied topics of common man, thus fueling the reading habit further. This phenomenon actually has been referred to here as the reading mania in Europe. As a result of this reading mania, some significant developments took place in Europe, like new forms of literature appeared in print. The books were mainly almanac, ballads, folk tales, etc. You already know what ballad means. Then, what is almanac? Almanac is akin to our Hindu calendar, that is Panchang, which gives us important dates, that is Tithi, auspicious times for performing some work, information on eclipses, etc. Recently, I saw some school has named its diary Almanac. Okay. Then, publishers used different methods to promote sale of books. They employed peddlers. Peddlers means someone who goes from place to place in order to sell something. So peddlers carried books and roamed around villages to sell them. To target the poor readers, the booksellers started to produce very cheap books. For example, in England, they printed chapbooks. Chapbooks were pocket-sized books and were sold for a penny. They were so called because they were sold by peddlers called chapmen. Similarly, in France, such low-priced books were called bibliothèques blues. Blues because they were bound in cheap blue colors. Then there were romances to engage young readers and histories which had stories of the past. The print revolution students also led to the growth of newspapers and periodicals. Periodical means just like magazines which are published at regular intervals, maybe daily, weekly or monthly. The periodical press developed from the early 18th century. They gave information about current affairs and entertainment. Then there were newspapers and journals. They carried information on war and trade. They also covered news of development in other places. Students, things did not stop here. They went beyond this. Common people got access to the ideas of scientists and philosophers also. Scientific tests were now compiled and published. Maps and scientific diagrams were printed. When scientists like Isaac Newton began to publish their discoveries, they could reach to a much wider audience, especially those who were scientific-minded readers. Similarly, the ideas of philosophers like Thomas Paine, Voltaire, and Rousseau were also printed and read. They also came to be widely appreciated. In short, new ideas about science, reason, and rationality found their way into popular literature. Thus, students' reading became a passion with many. There was a common perception that books were a means of spreading progress and enlightenment. They believed that books could change the world and liberate the society from despotism and tyranny. Louis Sebastien Mercier was one person. Mercier was a novelist in 18th century France. So you can see he was contemporary to the period of French Revolution. He was strongly influenced by Rousseau. Mercier said the printing press is the most powerful engine of progress and public opinion is the force that will sweep despotism away. Underline this sentence. This sentence will be given and you may be asked, who said this? In many of Mercier's novels, the heroes are shown transformed by the acts of reading. He was so much convinced of the power of print in bringing enlightenment and destroying despotism that he proclaimed, "Tremble, therefore, tyrants of the world, tremble before the virtual writer." Tremble means to shake out of fear, anxiety, or excitement. By saying so, he is actually warning the tyrants, that is, the despots or the dictators, that with the coming of print, their time is going to be over. Many historians, dear students, argue that the print culture created the conditions within which French Revolution occurred. You are already aware of the role of philosophers like Locke, Rousseau, and Montesquieu in the French Revolution. The point here is how their ideas popularized. It is the print that popularized their ideas. Their writings collectively provided a critical commentary on traditions, superstitions, or the despotism. Secondly, it was print which created a culture of dialogue and debate. All values, norms, and institutions of society were re evaluated and discussed by the public. Thirdly, there were a number of literatures that mocked at the royalty and criticized their morality. Cartoons showed that the monarchs were absorbed in the sensual pleasures when the common people suffered hardships. You can see figure 11, the nobility and the common people before the French Revolution. In the top, you can find the nobility dancing and enjoying their life, but in the bottom, common people are being beaten up by the nobility. Circulation of cartoons like this one had an impact on the thinking of people before revolution. This led to growth of hostile sentiments against the monarchy. Thus, since print helped people to open their minds and think differently, some historians think that print culture created the basis for the French Revolution. Let me stop here, students. Time for probable questions now. 1. Briefly discuss the new forms of literature that targeted new readers in the 17th and 18th century. 2. Why did some people in 18th century Europe think that the print culture would bring enlightenment and end despotism? 3. Examine the role played by the print revolution in the spread of the ideas of scientists and philosophers. 4. The print culture created the conditions within which the French Revolution occurred. Support the statement giving 3 arguments. See, this is a 3-mark question asked in 2009. Now read your textbook properly and prepare these questions. In the next class, we will discuss the next unit, the 19th century. Till then, keep reading and have a nice time. Thank you.